Welcome to Your Future in Sales and Marketing, a podcast that helps you make great career decisions to get the most out of your career journey. We'll introduce you to the AXR network of established senior leaders and a handpicked group of future aspiring leaders who have it all in front of them. You'll learn what it's like in the top job and how to get there. Your hosts from AXR's specialist sales and marketing recruitment team will also land bonus episodes for you on how to work with recruiters, write a resume, and smash an interview, as well as our very popular market updates. It's the podcast that has it all. You can't get this career advice anywhere else.
Thank you for joining us on Your Future in Sales and Marketing. My name is Ben Carnegie and I'll be your host. It's my pleasure today to introduce you to Amy Darvill, who's currently the Marketing Director ANZ for Vinarchy. Now, Vinarchy has come around from the recent merger of Accolade Wines and Pernod Ricard.
That's right.
Thank you very much for joining me, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you on board and hear a bit about how things are travelling with the business at the moment and get to know you as well. So just to kick things off, we usually have a couple of icebreaker questions just to set the mood. And since you're coming from Vinarchy, I thought it would be appropriate to ask, what's your favourite wine at the moment and what are you recommending to your friends when you're out for dinner at the moment?
It's a really hard question because there's just so much amazing wine out there and I'm learning a lot more about it. Well, I certainly have been over the last year or so since I've been in the wine game. If you're asking me sparkling, I would say our Crozer Late Disgorge. So Crozer is a brand made using traditional methods. So just like champagne, but obviously in Australia, is a beautiful, beautiful sparkling wine. From a whites perspective, Bay of Fire's Riesling, one of our Tasmanian brands, incredibly beautiful drink. And then for red wine at the moment, the St. Hallett Higher Earth Syrah, which is a more refined style of Shiraz from down the Barossa way. So they're my top three picks at the moment. Although I've got a new portfolio of wine, which I certainly haven't made any headroom into just yet. So that list is always changing and will change more.
Indeed, your portfolio has almost doubled in size recently there. Although the St. Hallett's, I've certainly had a few bottles of those. Probably not quite to level with the fine wines that you're talking about there.
That is top of the pops, the one I mentioned.
I aspire to be having that as my regular reds from now on.
To be honest, the St. Hallett Faith Shiraz, it's a fabulous wine and certainly not at that price point. So enjoy that.
Indeed. And since we're regularly talking about brand as well, I'd love to hear from you. What is your favourite brand? And it can't be something that you've worked for before.
Do you know, I always ask this as a question when I'm interviewing people, and I have always asked this, and I get really annoyed when they don't have an answer. And now you're asking me, putting me on the spot. So I did think about this. I really like brands, this might sound a bit silly, that look, feel and act like themselves. So what I mean by that is particularly in niche interests that I myself am passionate about, where there are brands that have honed in on that niche and bring a level of both technical excellence and an aesthetic that I really enjoy. So there's heaps of brands that, fall into this space. But for me, I'm really into horse riding, a bit of a niche interest. And so there are brands like Piqueur, which people may not be as familiar with, which is just renowned for having the technical excellence, the attire that they create. The Mountain Studio is a sort of skiing and outdoorsy brand. Again, has the most beautiful aesthetic and the attention to detail is second to none. So I would classify those brands as niche interests, but very, very good at doing what they do. But then more broadly, I was thinking about more mass market brands, which I really admire, and going back to brands that look, feel and act like themselves. In the retail space in Australia, I think Mecca is a great example of that. They have absolutely revolutionised the way that we shop for beauty and cosmetics here in Australia. And the really clever things they do around loyalty and even the simple mechanics of their packaging at Christmas, I think is just fantastic. So that would be, again, just doing the little things, doing the technical elements of both the product and brand building very, very well is how I would summarize what I look for in a brand.
Well, you can certainly say that you notice Mecca pretty much everywhere, and their brand positioning at the moment appeals to all audiences, really.
Oh, it annoys me. The 12-year-olds in there, we were using Clearasil. They're not allowed to use the good stuff now. How do they have the money?
My daughter, who's about to turn 11, is asking about going to Mecca to pick up her, I'd like to say first products, but probably not.
Probably not.
I'll have to ask Mum about that one because I'm sure there's a few that snuck through the door without my knowledge there.
Probably.
So tell us a bit about where you grew up. What was life like before your career?
I would say very boring and stable. I born and bred Sydney-sider. I grew up in the Shire. So you and I were laughing about Northies the other day. I spent a lot of my misspent youth down in Northies, the memories. And I would say a very classic stock standard childhood. I went to Sydney Uni, so I kind of moved out of the Shire in my early 20s and have lived in the East since then. But the Shire still holds a special place in my heart.
You can't take the girl out of the Shire, can you?
There's certainly a little bit of Shire still left in the girl, don't you worry.
Yeah, excellent. Good to hear. Good to hear. And it wouldn't have been an easy choice going from there to the East. You would have felt like you were almost a traitor to the area.
Well, yeah, I had to hand my passport back, that's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure.
Excellent. So talking about your career there now, you've been working in marketing for an extensive period of time.
You're making me sound really old now. Thank you. Thanks for that.
I mean, look, 10 years is not much at all. But you've certainly done very well in that time. But after your studies, you completed your bachelor and specialised in marketing there. You went straight into working for LEK Consulting.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about how LEK started and what you learnt while working there.
I think you're going to see a bit of a similar trend here, which is I didn't think all that much about it in that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So I did a commerce and liberal studies degree, which is kind of what you do when you don't know what you want to do after school. I had a very short stint in investment banking and I quickly realised that I hated that with a passion and never wanted to do that with my life. And so I kind of thought what's going to pay me the most amount of money, but I don't have to work in banking. So I thought, consulting, I'll give that a go. And that is literally the thought process of a early 20s me figuring out my career.
So, yeah, consulting, obviously, I think there's an expectation that there's a certain amount of experience and knowledge that comes into that type of industry.
Not as a first-year analyst. Basically, they're looking for people who are willing to work very, very hard and absorb a lot of learnings from different industries. So you do need to be able to get in and quickly understand the mechanics of an industry and obviously be willing to put in the hours. So it's a great training ground for wherever one wants to take the rest of their career. Okay. But you do work very, very hard.
What was it that encouraged you to move away from consulting and fall in love with marketing?
Well, there was probably some practical things. So I think I did nearly 7 years in consulting, and we would joke that it's a little bit like dog years. So that's well over 40, nearly 50 years of consulting. And it is a very demanding career. So there's the practical elements of looking for something a bit more balanced lifestyle-wise. But then also I think as you get a bit more senior, you kind of want to put your money where your mouth is and not just hand over the strategy, hand over the recommendation, but actually try and build it yourself or be part of a team that's playing out that recommendation. So I took a very classical leap from consulting into the strategy team at Lion. I was lucky enough to be recruited into that position. And that was my first foray into industry.
So starting in the strategic side of things and then later moving into brand management specifically.
Yeah, well, I'm actually really fortunate that Stephanie Nixon, who was the strategy director at Lion at the time and then later the CFO, she was my hiring leader into that position in the strategy team. And she said to me, I think it was probably in the first interview or even the second, where she said, look, you can't come into a business like this and hang out in strategy the whole time. You need to get your hands dirty. So would you like to work in sales, operations, marketing? And again, the extent of my thought process was, well, I did marketing at uni, so I think that would be kind of fun. Sure, marketing. And she worked with me to try and make that happen within my first 18 months at Lion.
Excellent. What brand were you working on at the time?
From the strategy team, I went straight down to be the brand manager on James Bogue's Premium, another Tasmanian brand, beautiful little Tasmanian brand, and was very popular at the time. That was kind of I nearly said wine then. I've just trying to wean myself off saying beer, but it was the beer that one drunk at Christmas or down at Ryan's Bar in the city on a Friday night.
It was definitely the premium beer at the time.
It was. So that was where I started my brand management career.
Excellent. And so from brand management, you had quite a solid career, actually. I don't want to use the word extensive again.
No, that's fine. You've made me feel old already. That's okay. I don't mind.
7 roles across 11 and a half
many?
years.
I have never counted.
The number of promotions that you had there was obviously quite impressive there, I think. But talk us through your journey and how you managed to get that consistent career growth during your time.
When I came down into the marketing team, I was very ambitious. I'd gone from being quite a high-level role in talking to senior leaders. I'd been in strategy for 8 years or so now. I probably thought pretty highly of myself, quite frankly. And then I came into quite a junior role within a marketing team. And so I was very ambitious to get to the next level very quickly. And I had some very good advice. I won't mention their name, But that leader said to me, look, the worst thing you can do is rush and get promoted before you're ready. So take your time, hone your craft, learn. An old lion behavior, I don't know if it's still in existence now, but I use it all the time, seek to understand before being understood. And it will just, that journey or that career path will follow. And that's advice, as we were talking the other day, I've given lots of people, is just learn and do your job now really, really, really well, and the opportunities will come. So that was kind of the advice that I took, and just concentrated on doing my job really well, and the pathways followed through all the different brands and through all the different levels, I guess, in a big marketing team.
Indeed. It's advice that we give to a lot of the candidates as we see them move through the ranks in their various careers. It's common for people to want to run before they can walk.
100%.
And spending that time, you couldn't be more right there about making sure you do spend your time, get to know the role really well, so that you have the skill set as a leader once you do get to that stage, and you're guiding people through that stage of their careers yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that expression that you use there, understand before...
Before being understood.
Before being understood.
Yeah.
I think you needed to finish that one off for me. So 11 and a half years at Lion, I'm sure there's many achievements that you've had throughout that time there. What are some of the major achievements? What's the highlight reel for you?
Oh, there were just so many amazing brands that I was lucky enough to work on, and some fabulous teams. I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, the brand that's probably closest to my heart and that I'm most proud of some of the work that we did on is Forex. So I always used to joke the Shire's a little bit like Queensland. So maybe I'm an inner Queenslander inside there. So Forex, the day that we became the number one beer in the country, 203 million litres, I still remember that. That was a very proud moment. Forex Island, which was really groundbreaking at the time. That was literally an island that we leased, and we gave consumers the trip to win a trip for you and three mates to Forex Island. And we ran that for 3 years. I got the keys. I became a brand manager on Forex and basically given the keys to the island to go and run and amplify that for that period of time. We did so many incredible activations and campaigns around the island. That was really special. But then I guess guiding the whole Forex master brand back to a period of stabilization after a long-term decline where we probably took our eye off the ball for a little bit. So just before I left, we got back to master brand stabilization. So that was a really proud moment. But then, I don't know, there's so many other little campaigns creating some awesome little brands, some amazing highs, but then also many, many things which I stuffed up. Lots of misses as well. Lots of misses.
Forex Island was certainly something that I know was discussed by myself and a few of my mates over the time that was coming out. What a great experience that would have been. You would have also been introducing more mid-strength beers to the New South Wales market at the time.
Very
Forex
much
Gold,
so.
I don't think, was ever terribly popular here back then. The thought of a mid-strength beer.
It wasn't. And that was so many people have worked on this brand, and people far smarter than I before myself of plotting out the trajectory from Queensland down to the rest of country. We used to call it rock rest of country, through regional areas, and even in my time sort of paving the way through regional Victoria as well, because that was obviously the gateway for a mid-strength beer where people want to enjoy one or two beers after work, but you're probably going to have to drive just because of the realities of distance in regional areas. So that was a big deal. And then it was the onslaught into the suburbs and into the centre of Sydney. And I actually really remember the day going for a run near my house, so in Centennial Park. And this sounds terrible, but had clearly been a picnic or a party or something there the night before, and there were empty tinnies of Forex Gold in Centennial Park. I'm like, wow, we're cracking Sydney now. But that was obviously there was a lot of competitive pressure. I mean, Great Northern have done a fabulous job of eating into that market share. And so that was a real battle to try and stabilise that brand after the highs of the Forex Island era.
Absolutely. I'm sure it was a fond time to look back on. I mean, you've had a lot of experience working there. I'm sure some great relationships that you've built in that time that probably still serve you to today. So it must have been a huge life change at the time that you decided to move on from Lion there. What encouraged the change at that point?
Well, again, it was a lot of practicality. So I'd been there for 10 years. There's always the nervousness around, am I stuck in the same place for too long? So I had early of 2020, I'd sort of started to put some feelers out, and then the world collapsed. So COVID. Chestnut. that old thing where, looking for a job was pretty tricky. And we had a massive job to do. Like that, actually, that's some going back to things where I'm proud of being a part of, certainly not leading, but just Lion's response to COVID, where we brought back the kegs and a lot of work was put into supporting the on-premise, so pubs and clubs, through a very, very tricky time for that channel. I was really proud to work for the business during that. So and making sure we're stabilising our brands and doing what's right for the community over COVID, that became a big focus. And then I fell pregnant with my second baby. So looking for a job in the middle of COVID when one is pregnant is not really well advised. So I sort of worked through that, and then an opportunity came to leave in 2021.
Okay.
And so I did.
And so you had the opportunity to return to where it all began at LEK Consulting for a short period of time there.
That was, again, following a bit of a theme, not thinking too much about it. My husband jokes that I spend more time planning my outfits than I do my career, which may be a little bit true. But no, I went back to LEK. There was an opportunity there for a very senior position to ultimately become a partner in the consumer practice in Australia. They were doing a concerted effort to build the consumer practice here, which obviously suited me very well. So I thought I'd give it a crack.
Absolutely.
There might have been some like postpartum hormones going on when I said yes. I don't know what was going on.
Indeed. Oh, well, look, coming back with all the experience that you'd gained whilst at Lion and coming into something that was very familiar to you from previously, did it all fall back into place fairly well? It
was actually quite scary how some of the skills fell back into place. So I'd probably spent a decade trying to rid myself of some of the consulting perfectionism. But then you get back into that environment and it all just clicks back in and you realize that, yes, this is the place where you have to be super detailed and across your numbers to the nth degree, and nothing can go out. The materials you prepare are your product. So that level of scrutiny, which I'd been trying to rid myself of, it all came back pretty quickly.
I'd say naturally would have really helped you with that attention to detail throughout your career prior as well. Because marketing seems to be a lot about attention to detail.
It does, but I did have to put in a lot of work from getting what that right level of scrutiny would be, because the tendency to be very task-oriented and perfectionistic is my natural style. And I've had to, as I've said, put a lot of work to try and rid myself of some of that, which doesn't always bear as well in corporate life.
Indeed. Fair enough. So moving back into a more senior role at LEK there, but a shorter stay in this occasion there. So you must have missed what you were doing in liquor and FMCG.
It was really interesting, and I'm really thankful that I got the opportunity to go back to LEK, because it certainly did brush up some of the skills that I'd sort of let fall by the wayside. And it was just a whole new world going into that sort of pre-partner year where you're trying to drum up clients yourself and prove that you can be an active contributing equity member of the partnership. So that was something I hadn't been exposed to before. So I learned a lot of new things. But there were two things that I really missed. Number one was I'm like, where's my team? Where are my people? So in consulting, the resourcing is determined by what projects are on at a given time. I had a big team at Lion. So I was like, where are my people that I'm leading and coaching and guiding and with all the time? So that was an element. But then where's my thing, my product? Where's my brand? And you realize in consulting that your product it's really kind of your brain and what's in the PowerPoint deck or the Excel model, or it's not a tangible thing. And I really, really missed that.
Missed having that product.
Yeah.
Only so much NPD that can be done with your own brain.
That's right. That's right.
So making the decision to go back client side, you made the decision to join Accolade Wines. What was the primary challenge that you had coming into that inspired you to join them in the first place?
So I had made the call that I was at that point where it's either stay and keep pushing towards partner in consulting, or you have to get out now and go back to corporate life and start, back on track of building, the marketing career that I wanted. And again, this just sort of popped up. I literally saw the ad and a few people sent it to me, and a few people sent it to the managing director and said, oh, Amy's looking for a job. And that's how it happened. So
the power of the network.
It very much was the power of the network. MD, Andrew Clark, and I had worked together very briefly when I was looking after Guinness, which Lion looks after in Australia, and he was at Diageo. But that was a long time ago, and we only worked together for a couple of months. But again, it was just enough to get that first interview, I guess.
Dude, only a short period of time there, but enough for him to go, I remember Amy. I must make sure I put her in the mix. And here you are.
And here I am.
Dude, so you've been with them for about 18 months or so?
Yeah, it would be now.
Initially first joined. But to talk a little bit more about that side of things, you've had obviously Accolade and Pernod merge. Now, were you aware once that merger happened that you would retain your role as marketing director?
No. No. So it was quite a tumultuous start. I joined Accolade Wines in January of 2024. We were owned by Carlyle, so the business had been private equity owned for quite a long period of time. And we were sold to Bain Capital. And that happened in I think that was announced around April. I'll probably get all my dates wrong now. So then there was a period of getting to know our new owners. And then it was announced that we were merging with Pernod Ricard winemakers a couple of months later. So the first 6 to 9 months, very tumultuous. I didn't actually know whether I had the job or not. So it did feel a little bit like, I mean, you're already trying to prove yourself when you get a new gig, right? Like you're not the new girl or the new guy. So I was really trying to prove myself, particularly to our new owners, private equity ownership. They run a tight ship, as they should. And so it wasn't until quite late last year that I knew that I had the gig.
Excellent. Knowing that you've got that locked down for the foreseeable future there. I'm certainly not expecting that there's going to be any changes anytime soon. But where do you see your career going long term? Where would you like to,
oh my gosh,
to get to?
So marketing's my thing for the next little while, I think. I think I said to you last week, I've always been much better at setting the sort of long term, like the 10-year, 20-year type goal rather than the next step. I would love my career to end in sort of advisory roles, board positions, as, bringing that kind of consumer-centric subject matter expertise to a board, and certainly looking into different passions of mine, charitable ventures, that type of thing. But that's, a way down the track. I guess the next role for me would be a CMO's type role. That's kind of the natural trajectory. But in saying that, I don't really think too much about it. It's just see where the water's flowing and
coming back to your earlier advice.
Do a good job and good stuff will come.
Indeed. So looking back at your career as it stands at the moment there, what would you change if you were to look in hindsight?
I think probably back in my consulting days, I would have taken the opportunity to work overseas more. I did a stint in London. And I think just when you are sort of footloose and fancy free with no dependents, it's just such an amazing experience to work in other countries, other cultures. So I probably would have done more of that or a longer stint. In terms of my career at Lion, I think the only thing that I do regret is that I probably didn't go and have a stint in sales quite early in my marketing career. It becomes much harder when you become more senior. And I poo-pooed it early on, didn't want a bar of it. And it wasn't until I think that was one of the big unlocks for me once I understood how to engage with the sales team, win the hearts, not just the minds. That was always a bit of feedback for me. You've got to win the hearts, particularly in a business like that with a very big field sales team. I put a lot of work into that, and I think I could have shortcut some of that by rolling up my sleeve and getting my hands dirty and working in a sales role early on in my marketing career.
Indeed, because the further on you get in your career,
it's
the
really
more senior, the more influencing you need to be for cross-functional department 100%. Sales, for example. Spent some time there, you'd be able to share some war stories and hopefully carry a bit of favour in that regard.
I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I think if you are willing to do the hard work, you can form those connections and understand enough about it. But I think it's a hell of a lot easier if you've actually done it.
Absolutely. Talking about your current role there, as you mentioned, beginning with Accolade, Bain came in, then there was the announcement of the merger there. You've now rebranded to Vinarchy.
Yes.
How has the transition to Vinarchy been for both you and the team so far?
Rapid, a lot of hard work. Whenever I'm feeling a little bit stressed about everything we have to do, I think, thank God I'm not in IT or in operations. So what supply chain are having to do right now and the IT guys in merging two very big established businesses, particularly for supply chain with an agricultural product like wine. That actually blows my mind what they're going through. So I kind of calm myself down with, chill out, Amy, you're in marketing, like it's okay. As someone in my team said a little while ago, only a couple of weeks ago, hey guys, it's PR, not ER. So we're not saving lives here. It's okay. So it's been, a lot of hard work, and it's on top of the day job. There are lots of people who are a bit weary, but it's really exciting as well. You don't get these opportunities in your career to do this very often, if at all. So it's a grind, but it's also really exciting.
Is that some of what is inspiring you to stay on the journey with Vinarchy there?
Think about it, to be honest.
It's only a little while since.
Well, it is. So it's day one. So we closed the deal on the 1st of May. Obviously, we've been working on it for a long time prior, but those members of the Pernod team who are coming into our business transitioned over on the 1st of May. And we're getting our heads around how we work as a new business right now. So it's still very, very early days.
So a question that I'm sure a few people have on their mind, where did the name come from?
I knew you'd say the name.
Where did the name come from?
So Vin, as in the wine, and Archy, as in ruler. We are one of the biggest pure play wine businesses globally. And our mission is to redefine wine. So that's what we're going to do. And it says it in the name, albeit in a slightly intellectual type name, but it's nothing to do with anarchy. It's the opposite. It's leadership or ruler.
Wine leadership or
correct.
Wine rulers.
That's right.
That certainly makes a lot more sense than what I'd been thinking.
Yes.
I won't even go into that. So Marketing Director for ANZ, talk to me about the scope of your role, the size, the scale. What's your day-to-day like? So we have a big portfolio of brands. One thing that was a real shock coming to wine, I thought we had a big portfolio of beer at Lion, but wine, the stretch of sub-brands and varietals, the number of SKUs is just intense, and then we've just doubled that. So we have some incredible brands that are in our portfolio now. Jacob's Creek, one of the biggest wine brands in the world, certainly the biggest in Australia as an example. So I look after the full portfolio of brands, everything from starting at the heart of the brand, so the ownership of the brand positioning, the DNA of the brand, all the way through the spectrum from portfolio management, NPD, communications, the whole lot. Okay.
Yeah.
And are you still also looking after the cellar doors as well?
So we call them brand homes.
Brand homes
internally, because they are intended to be that real physical manifestation of our brand. So yes, I have the brand home or cellar door, as people commonly call them, footprint, as part of my team, which is fabulous. I was down in the Barossa a couple of weeks ago and in the Adelaide Hills. But yes, brand homes, and it's all for Australia and New Zealand as well.
So fair bit of travel involved with your role? Or
a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Well, at least you've always got a nice vineyard that you can go and visit.
There's always wine involved, so that's fine.
No arguments there. It's like, no, another work trip? Sure, no problem.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Always up for that. It must have been challenging, though, when you look at Pernod Ricard had their team, Accolade Wine had their team. Obviously, not everybody walked away with a role during that time there. How do you work with those teams to make them a cohesive unit working towards a common goal? Well,
as I said, it's really early days, so I certainly won't, none of us will pat ourselves on the back and say we've done that yet. And they were two quite fundamentally different businesses as well. Accolade had been private equity owned for quite a number of years, so we were pretty lean. There was actually an AFR article about Accolade, it might have been last year now actually, where there was a quote which we all really loved. It was like a bit of mongrel in the team. We were pretty lean and fight for the last dollar, and we make things happen really, really fast. The pace of how we did things at Accolade was, really extraordinary. And then Pernod, of a more like classical brand building background, probably more akin to Lion, obviously with their incredible spirits portfolio. So just merging those two different ways of working. We like to think of it as taking the best from both, that real focus on the consumer and brand with the JFDI, get it done, win the sale, create something, do it yourself, a bit DIY at Accolade. So we're just trying to really highlight the benefits of both approaches and make sure everyone's feeling really comfortable in both sharing what they know, but stealing with pride from the other side, so to speak.
Indeed. So success through shared knowledge
100%.
And taking the best of both worlds and combining that there.
Yeah, that's right.
When you're working with a fairly new team, how do you connect those people to the business strategy and goals?
It was a lot of work, but in hindsight, and when I say hindsight, like 4 weeks ago, so not a long time, one of the things I'm really glad we did is that we got the full marketing team, the ANZ marketing team, together in week 2 for a 2-day offsite where we had created in the background, a selection of us had created the Vinarchy way for marketing. So we were very clear that we couldn't just take what Accolade had or take what Pernod Ricard had and smash it together. We needed to be on the front foot with saying, hey, this is what we stand for as a marketing team. This is how we're going to do things around here. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of work during the transaction to get to that place. And obviously it was not just myself. There were many people involved globally, including our CMO, Sandy Mayo. But the fact that we pulled that off in week 2, I think really set us up for success. So we had the team physically together here in Sydney, and just seeing the interaction and the starting of building that common language, it enabled us to have a really fast start. One thing I'm so proud of, we've been going through rapid fire brand planning with the ex-Pernod brands over the last couple of weeks. And most people are working on new brands and everyone's there just talking the language and have created these incredible plans for the coming year in just such a short period of time. So obviously it's a marathon, not a sprint. There's so much more to do, but really being quite conscious around how important it was to have our own language in the way of the new company versus just adopting one or the other. I think that's put us in a good position.
It's a lot of very motivated and inspired people at the start of the journey there.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, being early days at the moment, what sorts of things are you putting in place or milestones that you're going to use to define success?
So, good question. We're working through all of that now, to be honest. I think one of the biggest milestones for us from a marketing point of view will be us as a combined team launching a big activity in market that we've all worked on, or some of us have worked on new brands that we a few months ago didn't even have in our portfolio. So we have some really big activity coming up. I think that will be a really nice, tangible, manifestation of all the hard work that's gone on over the last little while,
Indeed.
Or long while actually.
And what's coming, I'm sure, is top secret at the moment.
It is. Yes. No.
Indeed.
Can't mention anything just yet.
To tell anybody about that at the moment, but I'm sure you'll all see soon enough. And so, looking at the new team and how the marketing function could evolve in future, where do you see it going?
Marketing, full stop, or the team?
The marketing in general for Vinarchy.
Our leadership team have, I think, rightfully and thankfully, made it very clear that marketing is the growth engine of the business. We're not the colouring in department.
You've got the seat at the table.
We absolutely do. And I think that any marketing director or CMO who's not thinking that way had better start thinking that way. In my mind, and this is something that I've probably formulated, I guess, over the last couple of years, but having a business strategy and a marketing strategy that aren't the same thing just doesn't make sense. No. Yet the business has the strategy and marketing is there building that strategy alongside all of the other functions of the business. And we have to be at the forefront of that and we've got to deliver it. So just that interconnectedness and being on the front foot of driving growth for the business, I just don't understand how it can work in another way.
Indeed. It seems that in more recent times, marketing truly has found its seat at the table, the ability to track and monitor how well marketing is performing. There's an opportunity for it to lead in future rather than just purely have the sales team chase down leads, which everyone has their place, of course, but there's a much more cohesive approach across the business to achieve that goal now.
Yeah, and marketing hasn't historically made it easy for itself, probably. You have to talk the language. You have to sit next to the finance director or the CFO and demonstrate how you think your brand building activity, and I'm saying that really purposely, your brand building activity, not just your activation ideas for that short-term sales spike, how your brand building is going to contribute to the business growth in the future. And if you can't articulate that, then you're always just going to be there to doing the fun, shiny things, which are an easy cost to save when times get tough.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great. I really appreciate you sharing some of your time at Vinarchy there. So to move on to some advice that you would have for people as they're building their careers. Always good.
Don't think too hard.
as we've seen over many, many podcasts now, that there's no two careers that are the same. And so every piece of advice is what you choose to take and what works for you. As I think we said when we were talking during a prep session there, it's like parenting. You pick and choose what works for you.
And then none of it works.
But hopefully in marketing, you can take what you want, so long as you keep at it, putting one foot in front of the other, you're going to get to the success that you're looking for. But like I said, nothing's the same as the next person. So if you were to talk to some aspiring leaders on how to maximize their career potential, what advice would you have for them?
What I jokingly said there, don't overthink it. I've come across many very well-intentioned people in the past who have plotted out, I'm going to do this and then I'll get that part of progression, that step up, and then I'm going to do this. And I just don't think it works. The world doesn't work that way. I think you then become so fixated on the next step or ticking off that task that you lose sight of the bigger picture. So I quite like having that big open sort of goal of what's the 10-year goal, the 20-year goal, and then being very open to how one gets there. So that's probably a don't try too hard, don't stress. The counterpart to that, though, is work bloody hard and be really, really good at what you do. I think what we said earlier around doing your current job to the best of your ability is the best way to progress. So that would, I guess, be my other part of advice. If you're doing that and you're open to moving into different roles, different positions, different sectors, then it will all just work out. And be a good person. Don't be a dick.
Yes, that's right. We all know the no DH policy. If you look at the skills that you've seen in most successful career marketers there, what are some of those must-have skills that you see people succeed with?
An amazing communicator. What I've seen, maybe over the last little while, and maybe this is a bit of a COVID thing where everyone was locked up and didn't have those opportunities to go and present to either internal teams or customers as much as maybe in the past. Those presentation skills and being able to engage an audience, as I said before, win the hearts and minds, that is so important as a marketer. Much of your time is marketing to your internal company as it is to your consumers, whether you like it or not. So you have to find a way to get the business inspired by your idea, your brand, your activity, whatever it is you're talking about. So really putting the time and effort into becoming a great communicator and presenter, I think, is a great skill to have. Secondly, I spoke about it earlier, but you need to be able to talk the language of the business. So you need to be able to translate that brand building activity into how it will impact the business. And I'm not talking about ROI or the volume uplift in a 3-month period. It's longer term than that, but being able to still have that conversation around, the classic around the boardroom table, how what you're doing, what you're investing in will drive the business. And you can practice that as an assistant brand manager, as quite a junior member of the team. And then you have to do it in 3, otherwise the unbalance will just annoy me. What's my third bit of advice? I think constantly be open to learning new things, which is really a bit of basic advice, I think. I don't think everyone needs to be digital expert or a social media expert or a communications expert unless you want to, but you've got to know a little bit about all of it. So if you are going to be a generalist marketer, you have to be able to, again, talk the language and then recognize when you're with the experts in the room. That's probably it's not as much learning. It's about knowing when you can trust your judgment to rely on the recommendations of experts. I think that's what you need as a more generalist marketer.
Yeah, that's some sound advice there. When you're looking at taking that next step in your career or identifying when you're going to learn something new, or how do you evaluate when it's best to stay where you are and grow, or whether the opportunity to leave and develop is a better choice?
Good question. I think if you're pondering that and you don't have, I'm assuming there's no kind of tap on the shoulder, job on the table. It's just, should I stay or should I go? I think there's 2 things. Having that long-term goal that we mentioned, like, is what I am doing right now in some way, shape or form somehow moving me towards that lofty goal I have for the future? And do I enjoy coming to work? People, going back to my comments before around this rush to progress, and I get that because that is absolutely how I was many years ago. But if you still enjoy what you're doing and you're learning new things and you can see how you're developing is moving you towards that long-term goal, then stay and learn. But if one of those things is broken, I think that's probably when the time is to reassess where you're at and look for a new opportunity.
Indeed. Yeah, having those number of elements there, I think certainly makes sense there. And as soon as one of those is removed, that's when the light starts flashing to go, well, maybe the grass could be greener on the other side.
If you're not learning, or if you're, getting the Sunday evening pit in the stomach feels, or if what you're doing is suddenly going this way where you want to go this way, then yeah, sure. But if those things are all ticking along, then stay and learn and enjoy it.
Exactly. So looking at current market trends, what are things that you think current marketing professionals should be keeping their eye on?
Oh, I have to say AI, because I would probably be kicked out of the room unless I said that, right? One of my biggest bugbears is how digital marketing is viewed as different to marketing. It's just marketing. It's a bit like having a different strategy. You have a business strategy, and you have a marketing team, and you have subject matter experts in various technicalities. It's just another channel. And I think AI isn't there yet because it's still all scary and different. No really know where it could go. But very rapidly, it will just become another way in which we do marketing, in which we create our campaigns, how we research, how we understand consumers. So it still kind of feels a bit out there, and I personally need to upskill in that area. But very soon, probably before the end of the year, it'll just be this is the way we do things around here now. So keeping on track with that. And then going back to my previous point around marketing being that center point of a consumer-centric strategy, I just don't understand how marketing can even be a function unless it's doing that. Like, what's the point? So if you're not thinking that way, then maybe there's something that I don't.
No, I think there's some really valid tips that you've given us for career advice. It's been great to hear how your career's developed, the choices that you've made, and how it's helped you get to where you are. Certainly, I think some of the takeaways within that are making sure that you are patient, you learn your job before you move, be very, very, very good at it and work very hard at it, but make sure that you really do know your role before you choose to move on there. Also, making sure you're staying ahead of current trends, whether it's AI or the latest platform that's coming out that could potentially help.
But also don't stress too much about it, because it will just become
And I think that was
second nature. Don't stress. Don't stress.
I think that was a big message on that side of things there as well. So look, I really appreciate you coming in. So thank you very much, Amy.
It's been fun.
For all of the listeners out there, if you're new to Your Future in Sales and Marketing, we've got over 110 episodes now. They incorporate a mix of CEOs, CMOs, MDs, sales directors, and we also have a number of future leaders up and coming as well. I think there's now about 4,000 regular listeners. So we really appreciate your support, and thank you for regularly tuning in. And for those that are new to it, make sure you do jump on our website, axr.com.au, and subscribe so that you do get that content regularly there. Thank you very much again. My name's Ben Carnegie, and we'll be back with you again very soon with more career journeys and insights to help you and your future in sales and marketing.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast from AXR Recruitment and Search. We're passionate about helping you get the most out of your sales and marketing career. Keep listening as we bring you more career insights and advice from Australia's inspiring sales and marketing leaders. See you next time on Your Future in Sales and Marketing.